Welcome to the Inspire to Invest podcast, where we're sharing inspiring stories from business owners, entrepreneurs, and real estate investors on the pursuit of wealth and financial freedom. Inspire to Invest is brought to you by Share, a US-based platform to help you invest in rental properties across the United States completely remotely. Hey everybody, welcome to Inspire to Invest. I have Lamia Tabina joining us from Dubai today. She is a dynamic entrepreneur, agency owner, and business consultant with a sharp eye for branding and marketing. As the founder of Logo & Co., a leading Dubai-based creative agency, she has spent over 8 years helping businesses across the GCC elevate their brand presence, generate consistent leads, and grow revenue through innovative marketing strategies. Beyond her agency, Lamia is also building her personal brand, Chic CEO, a platform dedicated to empowering women to start, grow, and scale their businesses. Whether she's crafting viral campaigns for clients or inspiring entrepreneurs through her content, Lamia's mission is clear: to help others create brands and lives that they're truly proud of. So with that said, thanks for being here today. How are you?
Thank you so much for the introduction.
So I love all the things that you're doing. I'm definitely a big believer in female empowerment, especially when it comes to business. So maybe you can take us back to the beginning and how you officially launched your business, and then how you also segued into building your personal brand.
Okay, so when I first started, I was trying to find a job when I moved here from Canada to the UAE, and I had so much experience before. So when I was applying for jobs, they were giving me mediocre jobs and very low salaries, and there was like, there's no way I have all this experience that I've went through in my life, and I'm going to take a job that's paying me so little.
Yeah.
So how I started is I started first actually sketching in a book. I was really bored and I was at home and I was pregnant at the time. I
Yeah.
was sketching and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a fashion brand. And I started making pieces and managing my own social media platforms.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I actually love designing. So I joined a WhatsApp group and there was a bunch of women there and I offered them like, hey, does anyone need a logo? I can make you a logo for about $30. It's a
Yeah.
hundred dirham. And they were like, yeah, make me a logo. And that became so popular with everybody. And I was like, okay, I'm making more money with logos than I am with the fashion. And
Yeah.
they were like, hey, can you please manage our social media as well? So I
Yeah.
started, I was like, yes, even though I had no idea what I was doing, I was like, yes, I can do it. I
Yeah.
did research and became a freelancer in social media and branding. And
Yeah.
now I've built my team and here I am.
Yeah, and I think that's the story of a lot of entrepreneurs. Like they often say, just say yes and figure out later, because otherwise you're going to miss opportunities if you don't feel ready. So obviously you pick up those skills more through action than you do from theory and learning. Now, as you segued into social media and stuff like that, do you feel like there's a specific like sweet spot that you have right now? Obviously you're working with women, but what would you say is, the number one thing that people are asking for from you?
So with my agency, we are A to Z agency. We've helped people and first-time entrepreneurs who want to start a business.
Yeah.
So we do the branding for them and then photography, videography, and then the social media. So I feel like I really help people get out there and photograph their brand in a way that they could show it and start making sales and leads from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about things like content that converts, like obviously social media, can be really challenging for some people. I think sometimes they just overthink it and they get worried about it. And then every time you feel like you're getting ahead, the algorithm changes and stuff like that. So what kind of things do you do to keep ahead of the curve and make sure that you are, guiding your clients appropriately so they can be successful and ultimately convert their content into clients?
I'm continuously still taking programs and learning more about social media. So I do have my team do like trending topic research and what's going on and what's working for people. That's what, and we've also set KPIs for them. So
Yeah.
whatever is working best for that client, we could implement it on for different clients. And I am taking courses. So I just took a course called Creators College to also build my own personal brand. Because right now, if you're a business, you want to start building your personal brand so
Yeah.
that people know about you and you
Yeah.
become like the authoritative figure in the industry. So if you do have a business, build your personal brand and you're going to see a big difference with your business.
Yeah, no, I'm a really big believer in that as well. It's just, back when I had my own business, it was like 2004. It was before Facebook was even around, and we kind of were always behind the brands. Like we always put our talent forward, put our clients forward. And I feel like the dynamic has really shifted because there's so much concentration in various industries. I think the only way that you come across as more distinct is by putting your personal brand forward because people connect with people, they connect with faces, they want to know that they can like, know, and trust you. So I think it is, dynamically really changed the game, especially in the last maybe 3 to 4 years.
For sure, yeah.
What platform would you say you're most focused on?
I'm really focused on Instagram with Instagram Reels. It's
Yeah,
way hard for me to work to grow on TikTok, even
yeah,
though I'm continuously trying, but
yeah,
TikTok content is more like raw, authentic content.
yeah.
So
You want to
it's like,
peek behind the curtain.
yeah, yeah, it's less edited and more fun. People want drama and stories, whereas I like to give business advice and my kind of like my entrepreneurship journey and how what I've been through. So it's a bit
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I have heard that TikTok is easier to grow on, maybe because of that reason. Like you can have a video talking in your car and it can blow up. Obviously I'm in the realm of real estate, so there's a commercial realtor I'm part of, and he did like a just a little video like that talking about Trump, and it got like 2 million views. It's like really crazy because it didn't require a lot of effort, but obviously what he was talking about was really controversial and really polarizing, so it attracted a ton of attention. So it just really depends on what you're trying to do. But I can understand that, not everybody is comfortable with that, right? Like we want to put forward this polished veneer as entrepreneurs, and you want to make sure that you are sending the right message to your potential clients.
Yes, definitely.
Now, obviously, business and entrepreneurship is not all sunshine and roses. Can you talk about a time where you've experienced some challenges and growing pains as you've been dedicating time to growing your business?
So recently in my business, I've been really working on like fixing the foundation, so SOPs and growing the team so that I could be ready for like the growth that I want to get to. So I
Yeah,
found that kind of difficult for my employees to follow like SOPs and as I'm growing the team, a lot of them are like clashing. So
yeah,
I find it hard at times, like some of them would be fighting, like, I don't know how to deal with this because I haven't dealt
yeah.
with a big team like this before. I've always like led them, but when it comes to things like this, and I don't want that to be the bottleneck of my agency right now. So I'm looking at ways to build leaders within my agency and have them all get along together so that we could give the best service for our clients and at the end of the day, grow as an agency.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I actually interviewed someone for the podcast in August, and he has a Growth Strategy Institute. And that's exactly what he was talking about is that you can grow your business comfortably till you hit about 10 to 12 full-time employees. Then the groups will start to split off. So you might have like two groups of 5 or 6. And I was talking about how I really saw that with my agency. And I was actually really concerned because you're trying to bring people together. You don't want to have friction on the team and stuff like that. But that's where he was kind of just talking about these levels that will require different systems, different implementation, different strategies, to keep people moving in the same direction. But that was definitely something that we learned along the way as well, just in terms of, as business owners, we have all this information kind of stockpiled in our mind, and we know inherently what we're doing, how we want it done. But then you have to find a way to translate that to your team members when you start to delegate things and take it off your plate. But I think with technology, it's so much easier now. Like you can create a Loom or a Zoom or, whatever it is that you want, and you can record everything that you're doing and start banking that for when you start bringing people on board and developing those playbooks.
Yes.
Now, in terms of things like successes and achievements, what would you say is something that you're most proud of?
For the past 8 years, I've been behind the success of the agency and I never really put myself out there. So
Yeah.
my agency is totally a virtual agency. And just the past, let's say 6, 7 months, I finally came out as the owner of the agency. I've been put myself like that. Even clients that have been with me for so long, like that's how you look like. Like I never used to open the camera for
Yeah,
Zoom call. I've
yeah,
always kind of like hiding
yeah,
myself. That's kind of like how it is on this side of the world. The woman doesn't really show or put herself out there or put herself on social
yeah.
media. So when I did come out and be like, okay, this is me, this is Logo and Co. I am Logo and Co. This is my agency. A lot of people, especially within the community, were like, "What are you doing? Like, that's not that's not part of our culture." But I
Yeah,
really want to show to women that if you have something in your mind and you're so passionate about, you have to stick to what's working now, especially if you want to get to where you want to be. So
yeah,
right now, everything is about social media. And if you don't put yourself out there and be the authoritative figure in your industry, nobody's going to know who you are.
yeah,
Nobody's going to trust. But
yeah.
you can be so much more if you just put yourself out there. So I started networking now. I'm doing podcasts. I'm building myself and letting people know who I am and my story.
Yeah. No, and I think there's a lot of power in your story. I was kind of laughing because when my business partner and I started out, we gave ourselves account manager titles. And, we'd show up to these meetings and we were young, like we were only 23. So we'd go into these meetings and these boardrooms and stuff, and people just assumed that we worked for this larger company. No one really asked. So it kind of flew under the radar. And then when she left, I changed my title from like account manager to account director. And then when I had one of my first mentors. We were probably 10 years in. And he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, call yourself the president. Like, people are going to start to look at you different. So I did shift it, and it became a bit of a joke with some clients who are like, "Oh, you got quite the promotion," like from director to president and all of that. But it was just, I think, a reflection of the age that we were at, right? Like, we just were worried that people wouldn't take us seriously at 23, to do these big opportunities that we were doing, like in some cases, nationwide sales programs and stuff like that. So I think looking back, it made sense, but it still took time to take, ownership of the title and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very liberating as well. Like, okay, this is me, and if you want to learn from me, then just get to know who I am and my story.
Yeah. And you'll find that you're going to obviously find the people that resonate with you and find your tribe. Now, in terms of things like lessons, aside from just taking ownership from a, more public facing persona, what are some of the other big lessons that you've learned along the way as you've developed your businesses and also kind of gone into some different spaces?
I learned that I can't do everything by myself. For so many years, I was doing everything by myself with my business. I was trying to be the CEO, the content manager, the art director, and I wanted so much control. I
Yeah.
didn't trust people they didn't think that they would love it or can do it as I could. But then I was becoming overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Um, and I do have 4 kids. So I didn't have the work-life balance and I was just trying to control everything. But
Yeah.
once I started bringing more staff and putting heads in each department, giving them the proper training, then I felt like, okay, I did see a big difference in the growth. I finally started growing and
Yeah.
getting different perspectives from each person telling me, hey, this is not working. How about you try it this way? And I was open to listening to them.
Yeah.
So I would say that's one of my biggest lessons is just learn to let go and stop working so much in your business when you should be trying to work on growing the business
Yeah.
and growing a team.
Yeah. No, I think that's huge. Now we're just going to take a really brief break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Inspire to Invest is proudly sponsored by Share, a US-based platform designed to help Canadians and Americans invest in rental properties across the United States completely remotely. With Share, you don't have to deal with tenants, repairs, or trying to figure out unfamiliar markets on your own. They handle the entire process for you, from setting up your US entities to sourcing vetted rental properties in landlord-friendly states to managing everything post-close with professional property management. It's a done-for-you turnkey solution designed to give you all the upside of real estate ownership without the typical landlord headaches. If you've been wanting to diversify into US real estate but didn't know where to start, Share could be just the partner you've been looking for. Thanks again for following along with this episode of Inspire to Invest. In addition to real estate, investing, and running my own brand experience agency for 18 years, I also published a book called The Accidental Entrepreneur in October of 2021. This is my story, and it chronicles how I turned tragedy into triumph to embrace my destiny in entrepreneurship. If you're interested in picking up a copy, you can find the link at serenahomesrealtor.com, and you can also find my link tree with all of the retailers in the details below. Thanks again for your support.
Big ideas require big capital. And behind every empire you admire out there is someone who's mastered the art of raising it. Elon Musk, he's raised over $75 billion. Warren Buffett, he's built his empire by attracting capital from others. And every real estate tycoon you know of, their portfolio didn't grow from their savings. They scaled by raising capital. So if you're building something that matters, your ability to raise capital is not optional. It's literally the difference between slow growth and true scale. The challenge you're going to have, though, is you haven't built the systems, the story, or the structure that investors trust. Capital doesn't go to the person with the best idea. It goes to the person whose business is actually ready for it. So pick your stage, own it. Build what your business needs at that stage to be able to attract the level of capital that you need where you're at today, not where you think you want to be tomorrow. If you do all of that, capital will follow. So the question is, what stage are you in, and what's the next thing that you need to do to grow your business?
Click the link below to schedule your capital raising session. We're going to go ahead and map out your custom blueprint and show you exactly how to implement this system in your business. Now remember, if you don't raise the capital, you don't pay. Click on the link below to schedule your strategy session now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Inspired to Invest. I've got Lamia Tabina here with me from Dubai. She is the owner of Logo & Co. And more recently, she's also developed a personal brand called Chic CEO. And before the break, we were talking about, how she's putting herself out there more publicly when it comes to social media to really build up her business and attract new clienteles, not only locally, but also globally. Now, one thing that I always like to ask entrepreneurs that come on my podcast is, what's the craziest thing that you've ever experienced as an entrepreneur?
The craziest thing, I would say when people come and I put out a post saying that I was willing to help entrepreneurs or people that are working from home to start businesses online. And then after posting that post, I had a whole bunch of people messaging me in my DM saying, "Oh, invest in me. Can you give me money?" They're asking me for free money, and I just
Oh,
thought that was
you're like, that's not what I meant.
that's not what I meant. I'm not giving out free money here. I
Yeah.
can guide you, but I just found that kind of crazy that like what makes you think that I'm going to be sending you guys like I'm not a charity.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting sometimes when you put things out how it can be misinterpreted in different ways. So
Yeah, they're like,
I
"Oh well,
find
I thought
even
you
with
wanted to
real
help."
estate, you put stuff out and people are like, landlords are the cause of like homelessness. People can't afford to buy a home because of them. And, everyone's got their own perspectives and opinions, right? So I think you got to take the good with the bad. In
Yes.
terms of things like advice and mentorship, what would you say is some of the best advice you've ever been passed along as you've been growing things?
Always, if you're trying to grow your business, have contracts with your employees, especially with
And
your clients.
clients.
Yeah, clients always have contracts and make sure the terms and conditions are there. It's
Yeah,
really important because things do happen, mistakes happen. You want to make sure you're protected.
yeah.
And also with your employees, if you're working with freelancers. So I've had freelancers that gone and tried to take my clients behind my back, and I didn't have a contract to protect me, so I couldn't say anything. So always protect yourself with contracts.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really couldn't agree more. And one thing that we found as well is that things would ebb and flow as you're in business. So, for example, you might allocate a certain number of holidays or sick days or lieu time, and things just naturally gravitate. And sometimes you just don't know you don't know, or things change. Like there was a time where we started integrating, personal and business development courses and stuff like that. So if we're going to invest in them and spend a lot of money to educate them, we had to put some, parameters around it. Like if they left in 6 months and technically they owed that cost back, or maybe if they didn't use their sick days by the end of the year, there was like a bonus or a reward that they got some of that back because we weren't going to, we're not in government, so we can't necessarily carry them forward. So there's just different things that kind of ebbed and flowed, and you just try to adapt to what you need, but also what they need, and have those open dialogues. And I mean, there was
Yeah.
a lot of things that we did, even on the client side with our contracts, because we had to deal with things like cancellation policies where we were largely service based, but a lot of our work is front loaded. So if a client cancels the day before, obviously there's got to be some sort of a consequence for that, right? Just to cover our time up until that and cover our team's time. So I think it's just all part of being in business. But I think the good thing is now there's so many resources available, like that just weren't there 20 years ago. So obviously you can learn a lot faster just to make sure that you're not behind or you're missing something that could be like a really costly mistake.
Yes, for sure.
In terms of what's next for you, so obviously you have Logo and Co. And then now you're building your personal brand. Like if you're sitting here 10 or 20 years from now, where would you like the business to be and what would you like to be best known for?
I definitely want to go on Forbes. That's one of my goals is to be like a entrepreneur from the Arab world on Forbes. I want my agency to be one of the leading agencies in the UAE. I know we have so much potential. I'm just going to keep working. And I also want to create a program for women who do want to start their personal brands. I want
Yeah.
to be able to guide them. So a lot of women, they want to leave their 9 to 5 jobs. They want to have that financial freedom and not rely on their partner. So I
Yeah.
really want to be the woman that, especially in the Gulf area, to to be one of the first to be helping these women to get to where they want to be and give them like a step-by-step mentorship for that.
Now, I know just because I'm in North America, I'm just outside of Toronto, and obviously you're on a very different part of the world. I'm just wondering, do you ever get any backlash from people because you are really trying to be a trailblazer when it comes to women and stuff like that? I just don't know the landscape super well myself, so I'm just curious to see what your perspective is like as like a female entrepreneur in that part of the world.
I did get a lot of backlash when I first started, but I was like, no one's going to come in my way, and I want to be that person that can help women do the same.
Yeah,
So I didn't let it stop me. If anything, it gave me more like I'm very like goal oriented and nothing's going to stop me. And that's
yeah.
what I want to show women too. Like stop sitting down thinking about it or worrying about what your society is going to think. Do what's best for you and what's
Yeah.
at the end of the day going to be best for your future.
Yeah. Now, it sounds like you're obviously a very busy lady because you're not only running two businesses, you have a big family. And you did kind of touch on briefly, the work-life balance and stuff like that. How are you straddling both sides of the fence? And, what would that average day look like? Do you have support with your family in terms of people helping with the kids? Or, how do you strike that balance?
I do have great support. Um, I do have help, but after like 4 or 5 o'clock, I try to put everything away and go give time to my kids before they sleep to go to school.
Yeah.
And I do have I've built the team where there's like a head of each department. So even though I'll be away, there's still someone who's working in the agency. So I do have the ability to work on my own time now.
Okay. No, that's good. I know that it can be really tricky and you got kids running around and it's loud and stuff like that. So I was just curious to see how you're navigating that as a mother and as an entrepreneur. Now, in terms of what business has done for you when it comes to time, money, freedom, and opportunities, how would you say that running your own business has changed your life?
It's given me the freedom. So I love to travel. I like to travel at least every 3 months for my sanity. So I feel like even though I travel, I could still like to open my phone. And because I have a virtual agency, I could work on my phone on my laptop,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And I want to teach women how to do that as well. So I love that I could have the freedom and I don't have to rely on anyone. I'm
Yeah.
making my own money on my own time. Like
Yeah.
yesterday, they called me to come pick up my child. She was sick. I was able to do that without having to call my boss or anything.
Yeah.
That's why I'm pushing for anybody to work virtually and not and kind of get out of the corporate world.
Yeah, I mean, it is really tricky. And honestly, that's one thing that I've often talked to my husband about is when our daughter was, she's 5.5 now, but when she first went into daycare, I was like, we would probably be fired. Like just the amount of time that she was sick that we had to be home. So at that point in time, I had a lot of flexibility and passive income. He was a firefighter. So, he's only working 7 days of the month. So basically one each day of the week once. And I said, how do people do it? Like they're commuting, they have to be at work. Like, obviously some people were working remotely, but just the amount of time that she was sick that we wouldn't have had backup care I just don't know what people do, right? So I think it is really liberating that people have these opportunities now where they can take control of their time, take control of their futures, and they can probably be better parents because they don't have to physically be in one location just to get the job done.
For sure. Like this office here is in my house.
Yeah.
So my kids are in the living room. If they need me, I'm there for them.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. Now, obviously, the name of this podcast is Inspired to Invest. So I always like to ask my guests if they've got a favorite quote that motivates or inspires them.
I would say just I don't have a quote, but just something I always like to go in is just follow your dreams and always set your goals so they could be clear for you. So if your goals are written down, then they're very clear for you, and then you're more prone to try to get to those goals. So always
Yeah,
put your goals on top, like beside your I put mood vision boards. I'm a big fan of vision boards and
yeah,
manifesting. So
yeah. No,
that
I love that.
really helped me to get to where I want to be is just being goal oriented and having those vision boards that really helped me to get to where I am today.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I have a mentor that used to say, if you don't know where you're going, you could end up someplace else. So I think it's really important to have a clear picture in mind. Now, for anyone that does want to get in touch to learn more about Logo & Co. or also your personal brand initiative under Chic CEO, what's the best way for them to find you and connect?
You could find me on Instagram on chic.co. So that's CHIC.co. And then, or my agency's logoandco.uae.
Okay, perfect. So we'll include all of that in the show notes below. Of course, thank you for your time today. I know that we're on opposite time zones at the moment, but we do very much appreciate it. For anyone that is watching or listening, if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, when you invest in yourself, the sky's the limit. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Just gonna hit stop. Thank you to Cher for bringing us this month's episodes of Inspired to Invest. The views represented on this podcast are for general information only and does not constitute investment or other professional advice or an offering of securities. The host and guests featured on Inspired to Invest make no representations as to the performance of any particular investment. Should you decide to make an investment, you are responsible for conducting your own review and analysis. It is recommended that you obtain independent legal, accounting, and tax advice from licensed professionals.